As you all know, due to exchange rates and the economic situation of Nigeria, it can be really challenging for somebody that is just starting out in a videography career to find a good camera slightly above the 1 million naira or below the 2 million naira price points. So I decided to do some research and help beginners out there who need help getting a camera with a tight budget. So now let's get to it. If I didn't have a camera and I'm trying to enter the mirrorless camera world as a Nigerian beginner videographer, I will probably buy one of these cameras. Now, disclaimer, all the cameras I'm going to be mentioning in this video are all Sony cameras, and they are cameras that I've used at one point or another. You see, I don't want to recommend what I've not used myself, and also pretty much all the cameras I used. The first on my list is the legendary Sony A73. Despite the fact that this camera was produced 4 years ago, the quality that comes out from this camera still competes with the recent cameras as of today. Here are some footages I shot to the camera. You can see how this camera still holds up. This camera is a good value for money, especially if you're an hybrid shooter. It comes with a 24 megapixel sensor, shoots 4K at 30 frames per second, and 1080p up to 100 frames per second. It's a full frame camera, so you expect it to perform well in low light situations. You can get the Nigerian used of this camera for around 1.2 million naira to 1.6 million naira for the very clean ones. And while the UK used or US used is around 1.950 million naira. But one thing I really don't like about this camera is that it's an 8-bit camera. So you might have limitations shooting S-Log3, as 8-bit camera is not going to give you enough information to work with while color grading in post-production. So I don't advise shooting S-Log with this camera. The second camera on my list is the Sony A6700. This camera was released around last year, so it might be quite challenging finding a Nigerian used of this camera. But the new one goes for around 1.7 to 1.9 million naira. This camera comes with a 26 megapixel CMOS sensor, the same sensor that came with the cinema line Sony FX30. It shoots 4K up to 120 frames per second and 1080p up to 240 frames per second for super slow-mo footage. It's a 10-bit camera, which means you don't have problem shooting S-Log with this camera, because 10 bits gives you more color information in your footage, and it allows you to be more flexible when color grading in post-production. One thing you need to know about this camera is that it's a crop sensor, which means it might not be the best for low light situations. The last camera on my list is the Sony FX30. Now, Sony's intention for making this camera is for beginner filmmakers that want to level up in their filmmaking career. This camera is in the Sony cinema lineup, and it is basically the cheapest Sony cinema camera you can get. This is supposed to be a very affordable camera for beginners to start, but due to the current exchange rates, I don't think most beginner filmmakers can really afford this camera. But is it worth the money? Absolutely, because this is the same camera I'm using to shoot this video, and this has been my primary camera for about 5 months now, and I can tell you I've been using this camera for basically everything I've been doing: weddings, documentaries, passion projects, you mentioned, anything at all, everything I've been doing. The current price for the used one is around 2.3 to 2.5 million naira according to today's exchange rates. This camera comes with incredible features like 4K at 120 frames per second, Cine EI, shutter angle, and it's a 10-bit camera, which means you have no problem shooting in log, which gives you more room to express your creative ideas in post-production. This is my favorite camera of them all, and this is what I've been using so far. So if you want me to make a separate video on this camera, tell me in the comment section and I will make sure I do that. Also, if you think there are other affordable cameras that can hold up to the quality of the ones I just mentioned, please let me know in the comment section. It might just be helpful for somebody. If you have watched this video this far, that means it has been of help to you. So please like this video, share with your friend who it might help, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. See you in my next video.